I am going over some of the key problems or the most frequently missed problems on your algebra final. Because we have such a lack of time and some of you are going to be gone all day for the assembly, I need to address this so then you can watch this on your own. So this was pretty good. The two most frequently missed questions were these, number 9 and number 10. Now, it looked like many of you had the right answer, but somehow along the way, somebody convinced you to change it. So, equation of a vertical line. So, a vertical line is one that looks like this. Okay, it goes up and down like this. Now, in order for a line to be like that, and let's say here's our axes, here's our x-axis and y-axis, and if a line's like that, it is only crossing the x-axis. So the x has to equal something. So that x equals a constant. That would be the equation of a vertical line. This is kind of blurry. Equation of a horizontal line, horizontal is this way. And in order, same thing, in order to go like this, that is crossing the y-axis. So it's the y is the constant. Now another thing that, hold on, you had available to you, but there were a group of you that were gone on a Friday, and I realized this has been sitting in the 5th hour folder. You need to make sure you get this. This is good to have in your notebook or in your binder to keep all year long. You want to keep this. Down here, horizontal and vertical lines, equation, y equals b or a constant, x equals a constant. So I know this came out maybe like that Friday, obviously Friday. That maybe you could refer back to that too. But anyway, so many people switched these answers, but the rest of it was pretty good. Okay, second page. Now this is just my draft, so you guys have more on your final. Overall, pretty good. The biggest mistake, number 13. A lot of you have the numbers, but it was a negative. No, I don't have it here, but it was a negative slope. Okay, so that was good. This is recognizing the different formats of the equation. So overall, not too bad on that page. This page, the next page, page 3. Okay, this was all messed up. This doesn't look like yours because, anyway, long story short, the most frequently missed problem was this one. All right, and I even did the same thing. I started looking at it and I'm like, wait a minute, I wrote no solution. Well, this is 0 is greater than a negative 3. 0 is greater than a negative 3, and that is true. So since that's a true statement, it's all real numbers. So yeah, I got caught to it too of no solution. The rest of it was really good. Oh, another one. Some of you, when you divided by a negative 2 here, you did not reverse your sign. So reversing your sign was important. Now you've got this, but you still maybe missed a point for not doing this correctly. And some of you come up with different numbers that weren't even over here. So that could have caught you to say, hey, there's something wrong. You might have got these letters right because you just said, oh, that's close enough. But we need to look at the majority of that. All right, this page is slopes and intercepts. Here's the two most frequently missed problems, these two. When you have, you guys, you need to simplify this. If zero's in the numerator, that's 0. It's a 0 slope. The y's are the same. So that's going to be a 0 slope. Now here, this is going to be undefined. When you have 0 in the denominator, see, I didn't even finish this all the way. But when you have 0 in the denominator, it's undefined. So when 0 is under the fraction bar, it's undefined. And some of you switched it, and some of you just didn't simplify it all the way. Okay, x and y intercepts. Remember, x and y intercepts are, in order to have an x-intercept, in order to have the x-intercept, that's where it crosses the x-axis. I went blank for a second. And then that means your y is 0. Okay, and you're just solving. This one you could actually do a kind of a cover-up method. When x is 0, what does y have to be in order to multiply negative 3 to get 6? Well, it has to be a negative 2. And when you cover up the y, if that's 0, what does x have to equal to be 2x equals 6? Well, that's 3. Okay, so the x-intercept is 3 and the y-intercept is negative 2. Okay, now this one was a little bit more challenging. The y you could definitely do because if x is 0, y is negative 4. So if that goes away. But then the other one, I went ahead and showed you how to do this when y is 0. So when you put in 0, think about how am I going to get x by itself? Well, you need to add 4, and then you need to multiply by the reciprocal. So you're dividing by 2/3, but then you multiply by the reciprocal, and that's going to be 6. Okay, so that would be the one that would, the x-intercept when y is 0, the x-intercept would be 6. All right, this one here, number 3 on this page. Okay, this was okay. Some of you missed this though. It's the cost per shirt, and that's reading this is important. This is also important. I think some of you missed this statement here that they're selling the shirt for $13 a piece. Well, to make the shirt, it's costing $8 to make each one, and then a one-time design fee of $20. Okay, now down here, some people were getting some confused. That's why I went ahead and typed this in. Just think through this logically. I made a table. And so in order to recoup the cost, which means to break even and to, you might have a little bit of profit, but what's the minimum number of shirts? So the minimum number is going to be 4 because it's going to bring in $52, but it's also going to cost you $52 to make. So at least we broke even here. If we sold any less, we are losing money. If you sold more, you're making money. Now, okay, now this is wrong. Here's what we do. Thank you, Ms. Christian, because we were having issues with this equation, and many of you are doing really well. Now, this is a very elaborate equation. Some of you were going through and processing it another way, which I was totally fine with. To where your $600 profit and your 13x, so 13 times how many shirts you have, subtract your cost. So your profit equals your income minus your cost. Then, of course, when you do this, though, you got to distribute your negative. So then 13x minus 8x. Well, you're making $5 per shirt, and many people realize that, and that's how my brain was going. Well, I'm profiting $5. But then I still have this $20 that I was paying out for the design. So this amount here, that 600 profit needs to really be 620 because I paid out $20 for the design divided by 5 would be 124. So that would be 124 shirts. All right, breather. Breather, breather, breather. This one was really good. Everyone got that one really well. This one is just any number besides these 3 numbers. So you didn't have to find a pattern. It's just if it's a function. So that as long as it's not a -4, -1, or 12, because they're going to different outputs, anything would work here. All right, these were good. These are individual points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's your domain. That's your range. Your domain and range here, this is your still individual points. Technically, you should not have the number repeating. So if some of you had the double 1, I crossed it out, and it should be in numerical order. This one people missed because it's a continuous domain and a continuous range. Okay, so just because that dot's there, many of you had a middle number there, whatever that is. But that is going from, on the domain, that's your x. So how far x is it going from the x way? Minimum x to maximum x, and then your y's. Okay, so then make sure that's a y. I did change that on some people. Okie dokie. This was okay. And now I'm going to make sure you see this. And make sure you look at this because many people had some issues with this. Order of operations, left to right if it's all multiplication and division, not multiplication first and then division. So that's why some of you missed that. Same thing here, left to right. This one was pretty good. Okay, you could distribute. Some people distributed, and that's fine. This one and this one, you cannot distribute. You cannot distribute right here when it's multiplication. Some of you did that. So you need to multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. You can't do half of 4 is 2 times half of 3. That's multiplication, not addition like this. So you can't do distributive property over multiplication, just addition, subtraction. So that's a -3. -1/8, some people didn't simplify, or you put -8. 3 is less than 24, so it can be 8. This one's okay. The biggest mistake was number 3, c squared. C squared, c is a -5, so you really need to do -5 squared. And it's saying minus b, which is 3 squared. The -5 squared is 25, and then -9. So when you replace that, that needs to have parentheses. Because you're replacing that whole thing. I'm trying to see where the other one was. Now this one doesn't need parentheses. It's not a negative. It's not a +9 because b itself is 3, and you're subtracting just 3 squared. So that can be confusing. The rest of this is okay. This one is good. Your solving equations were actually really well. This is your setting up your equations here for this grade. This was actually on one of your previous tests. In fact, I think maybe some of these were. So similar to that. Okay, that is a recap of the final. I just wanted to give that to you because I know we were going to be short on time of explaining why some things were wrong. If you still don't understand things after you've watched this, let me know.